Introduction to tone of voice. This is the subject that we'll be looking at today. So, what is tone of voice? Tone of voice refers to how you communicate through sound and how you communicate through your emotions, because sound and emotions are linked. They go hand in hand. It's not just about the words you use, it's about how you say them. Why does it matter? So why does tone of voice matter? Because it sets the mood for the conversation. It can influence how the message is received and interpreted just by your tone of voice. And it can impact the relationship, it can gain credibility and better engagement. And this is all to do with your tone of voice. That's how important it is. You can influence, you can persuade, you can manipulate, you can overwhelm or overpower just by the tone of your voice. See that? I just done that on purpose, just to illustrate my point. So now what I want to do is I want to look at understanding key elements of voice tone. We're going to go layers deep. So let's talk about pitch. When you're talking, there's so many ways of emphasizing something. You can emphasize something serious by talking a bit more deeper or talking a bit more louder with more emotion behind it, or slightly lower, more casual. Those are two types of pitches that you just heard me speak. Or I can be so happy and jolly and just come across like that. Pitch is one element of tone of voice. Then we have volume. When you communicate, what is your volume, your loudness or your softness can either emphasize a point, it can emphasize something that is urgent or an emergency, just by your volume of your voice. The third thing is the speed of the speech can also convey excitement, can also convey emergency, whilst a slower pace can signal calm. It can convey confidence, it can convey reassurance. And last but not least, it's connecting your tone with your emotion. What does that mean? So depending on how you feel is going to set the tone of how you communicate. So if I'm feeling angry, the likelihood is I'm going to communicate, my tone of voice is going to be a bit more loud, aggressive, a bit snappy. If I'm feeling happy, what do you think my tone of voice is going to be? It's going to be very pleasant to hear. I'm going to talk a lot more faster because I'm excited. Yeah, so those are just different variables of tone of speech. How your tone can be used in so many different ways. The pitch, the high, the low. The volume, the low or the high. The pace, speed or slow talking. And also connecting your emotions to your tone of voice. They go hand in hand. So let's look at the impact of tone in communication. So your tone plays a massive part in your communication style. You can be effective or not effective depending on your tone. Imagine this: when you're speaking to someone over the phone, what is the first thing that you notice? The first thing that you'll notice is the sound of their voice. Sometimes they can talk too fast, sometimes they can talk too low, they can talk too slow, they can talk too loud. These are the types of things that you're picking up. Yeah? And through this, it can either build trust, build rapport, it can create a sense of openness and warmth and encourage cooperation and understanding And this is all to do with tone, the way that you communicate by using your tone. Whilst on the other hand, if you've got a negative tone, that can create a lot of misunderstandings. You can become very defensive. It can lead to conflict. And it can make your message seem very, very harsh. Even if it's something good, if you say it in a harsh way, not say it in a harsh way, say it in a harsh way with a harsh tone, it can come across quite defensive. How many good things have we heard but have been said in a harsh tone? It happens to us on a day-to-day basis. Someone's always giving you advice, a recommendation, a suggestion, an idea, but maybe you've just rejected it because of their tone. And it could be something good that they're saying, but the tone of voice is not correct. So now, let's look at the way how you can improve your tone of voice. The first thing is this: you must learn to practice listening. And I've spoken to about this subject in many of my previous videos, about how important it is to learn how to listen. And the way you learn how to listen on a minimalistic basis is just shut up and let the other person speak. Don't interrupt. Yeah, by you listening, you can adjust the tone of voice because you're picking up how they're feeling, and you're also picking up a deeper awareness of understanding the situation and understanding them. So theoretically, you should be able to come across more better with your tone of voice by being either more sympathetic or empathetic. And this is very, very important when you're speaking to your child, using the correct tone of voice. You're not going to get it on point and be on point all the time because emotions go up and down, but it's up to you to be aware of how you're feeling and how your tone of voice can be coming across. Be mindful of your emotions, because the emotions can dictate the tone of voice in your communication. So be careful of that. Just be, when you can feel that you're getting heated up, you know that your tone of voice is not going to become correct. So hold back. Understand what's going on inside you. Internalize it. And then go back to communication when you're in a calmer state. Because when you're in a calmer state, your tone of voice will sound much more better. The other thing that I would suggest that you can do is to pause. Because pause also helps you to hone your tone of voice. So when you're speaking and you pause all of a sudden and then speak, you come across a lot more calmer, composed, and your message gets a lot more absorbed, by the other person. And you even sound a lot more warmer and approachable. So try those few things. Now let's talk about the common pitfalls to avoid, things to avoid by using your tone of voice. Sometimes, I've heard this many times as well, and I've also caught myself out doing this as well. Speaking in a monotone way. Monotone can just make your message dull. It can be boring. And people can just become disinterested. So it's good to vary your tone of voice, your pitch of voice, your speed of voice from time to time, because you want to keep people interested. You want to keep them attentive. Yeah. The other thing is to not overly and forcefully use an aggressive tone, because when you're coming across like that, you can definitely give off the impression that you're rude, you're domineering, and this just separates you from your child and your spouse. There's another thing that we need to be mindful of as parents towards our children, and especially towards our spouses, is to not be sarcastic and condescending. And that's to do with your tone. That's to do with your facial expressions. You can say something that may seem like a compliment, but it's actually a condescending statement. And the way you say it is in a certain particular tone of voice or voice. So be careful about how we're coming across. And then, last but not least, to when you're conveying and using your tone of voice, is the pace is too fast. You're just rushing. And when you come across like as if you're rushing, you can also be that can also be interpreted as you're impatient, you're stressed. And when that happens, you reduce clarity. That's why you need to be mindful about your pace. That's another thing. There's many things that I've mentioned about tone of voice that you need to be mindful of. And the thing is, you're not going to get it all at once, because it's a lifetime process. It's a lifetime journey of honing your skills. But I'm just pointing out these areas because these areas need to be worked upon. Even what I know, I get it wrong as well from time to time, because of emotions, because of what's going on around myself. I could be in a challenging situation and my tone may not come across quite right towards my child or towards my spouse. I could be in a stressful situation, and all of a sudden when I'm in a communication with my child, I'm coming across too harsh. So I need to learn how to govern my emotions, because I know that has a direct impact on my tone of voice. And through my tone of voice, that also has an impact on the quality of my relationship. So the thing is this, in conclusion to tone of voice, it's about being mindful of how you are sounding, how fast you are speaking, and also how you are feeling in conjunction with your emotions. Those are 3 areas to be mindful of. And the beautiful thing about tone is you're able to adapt your tone accordingly to each and every single situation. Sometimes you got to be harsh, sometimes you got to be firm, sometimes you got to speak softly, sometimes you got to speak fast. But don't let one style be the same in every single situation. Learn how to adapt your tone, your pace, and also take hold of your emotions. And the other thing is this, look, you can also practice feedback. Now, what do I mean by practicing feedback? Have a conversation with your spouse, with your child, and get feedback from them. Tell them, what was my tone of voice like? How did I come across? How did that make you feel? What could I do better? Look for these sort of things, because it's the feedback that's going to make you improve each and every time. So I will leave you with those things to ponder and think about.